Hello everybody, this is Qesheth again in 93. It's been a while since I've been back. I've been really busy. I know I've been promising a talk on the small cards. This will be a very short talk. I can't go through every small card as that would be impossible. Uh, a lot of reading tarot is intuition, and so the most important thing you can do as a student is to learn the attributions. Again, the Kabbalistic attributions to the tree of life. Because in the Hermetic sciences, everything refers back to that pretty much. To astrology, the tree of life, Kabbalah, and the tarot cards continuously point back to these sciences. Uh, so the importance of learning your attributions cannot be overstressed because they will open up the world of the tarot. In the Hermetic sciences, one thing leads to another thing. I always say that. Like when I started 30 years ago studying these sciences, uh, one thing led to another. It led me to the study of astrology, just the study of the Hermetic tree of life. Again, the Hermetic Kabbalah and the Jewish Kabbalah are different. Hermetic Kabbalah is a Western construct, and so it's a Western European construct. So if you were talking to a person, a Jewish person, they would pretty much disagree with what we're doing. And so this is a Hermetic Kabbalah. So again, one thing leads to another. So in studying the tarot, you'll begin to study astrology. You'll be getting to study the Kabbalah, the tree of life. One thing will lead to another thing, and it's a pretty roundabout science. It's pretty cool. And so I would definitely recommend learning your attributions. If you don't have a copy of Liber 777, it's a book of attributions, get a copy or at least one of the books out there that discuss the Hermetic attributions or the attributions for the Tree of Life. Uh, Again, my name is Qesheth and 93. This is the class on the small cards that I've been promising. It's just going to be a short talk. Again, there's not a lot I can say about the small cards because of the fact that I can't go through every card and explain the meaning of every card. I can point out the things to look at, and then you would use your intuition, and it's like a puzzle. You'll put it all together. Hopefully you can see everything okay. Again, I'm not the most technologically advanced person. I have a lot of problem with a lot of the various things I'm trying to do on YouTube. And I have a problem with internet because I live out in the country, so uploading videos, there's a lot of upload editors that I could be using that I really can't use because it's easier to upload straight from my phone. Because of the fact that, again, I have iffy internet, and sometimes I have to go to town to actually upload these videos. So that it takes a while. But anyway, I want to kind of get started here tonight. And again, I hope these videos are helping you and helping you get a better understanding of the tarot. And another thing I want to point out is, of course, the choice for the deck of cards that you choose. I normally recommend the Rider-Waite, Crowley, or the Golden Dawn. These are the three decks that I work with most. They stick closer to the true attributions of the Western Hermetic system. There are many decks out there. Many are New Age. Many don't stick to any of the attributions. So it's really up to the student, but again, use your discrimination when choosing a deck. Uh, People who are writing or people who are creating decks should be initiates of orders, and they should be adepts at least. I know people that began to write decks that, or began to draw decks that were, just barely new age type people. And that's fine, do as you will, but again, uh, you want to stick true to the attributions because, again, we talked about this, the super consciousness speaks in symbols, right? So And these symbols are the archetypes. And they unlock they unlock knowledge within ourselves, within our personal unconscious. And so, one thing leads to another again, and you will need to be able to unlock this knowledge that's stored within your own unconscious that is hidden within the archetypical world, which speaks in symbols. Okay, so anyway, it's kind of cold and rainy here, so I'm just been kind of stuck in the house all day. It's been a while trying to get inspired enough to do another class right now because I'm trying to work through the major arcana, which is taking me forever, and hopefully I can do this while I'm still alive. I'm getting to be kind of an old man. So again, we're going to be talking about the Minor Arcana cards. So the Minor Arcana are the manifestations of the archetypes of the Major Arcana. Okay? So keep that in mind. The minor cards are what? The manifestation of the ideas that begin in the world of absolutes, in the world of the archetypes. And the minor cards are how they manifest into the physical reality. I hope that makes sense to you. Again, some spiritual principles are very hard for me to relay. The reason I started doing these classes because I have some students that moved off, and I was going to do some just personal classes for them, but they suggested I do some YouTube, and because there's a few other people that wanted to see these talks, and again, so I went ahead and started to do them, and without a lot of knowledge of technology. So just bear with me. Okay, again, like I said, I want to point out again, I cannot stress enough, learn your attributions for your tree of life. Because within the tarot system, the tarot cards use these symbols, okay? And so it's a lot of work, it's a lot of knowledge, it's a lot of knowledge to gain, and a lot of time spent, but it will be well worth your time. So let's get started. So we talked about that the minor arcana, the minor cards, or the manifestation in the material realm. And they also go through steps because each suit of the minor arcana, is a tree of life in and of itself. It starts with the aces, which are attributed to Qesheth. Then it goes, of course, and that's the first onrush or the initial idea of an element or an initial idea of a thing. And then they go, of course, to the twos, which refer to Hakma, the kings, the threes, which refer to Binah, the queens. Okay? So that the aces, kings, and queens represent, of course, the world of absolute. And so each sephira on the tree of life also contains its own world. There are actually 400 different worlds, but we won't go into that in this discussion. In this discussion, we're going to be talking about how to look at the minor arcana cards. So we know that the aces are all attributed to Qesheth, the kings to Hakma, the queens to Binah. And then, of course, the twos are also related to Hakma, the threes to Binah, the fours to Hesed, the fives to Gubura, the sixes to Tippereth, the sevens to Venus, of course, Netzach, the eights to Hod, Mercury, the nines to Yesod, Moon, and the tens to Malkuth, Isaiah, to the physical realms. Okay, so that's one of the first things we'll actually look at when we draw, or when we draw a minor arcana card. Okay, so knowledge of the tree of life is crucial in the understanding of the reading of the tarot. Okay, so the minor cards have 4 suits. Seen here, the wands, the cups, the swords, and the pentacles, or coins. The wands, again, attributed to the world of absolute. the cups to the Briatic realms, the swords to the world of Yetzirah, the astral realms, and the coins to the eyes to the worlds of Isaiah, the manifested universe. Okay, so 4 suits, 4 elements: fire, water, air, earth, and the 4 worlds on the tree of life. So we're going to pick a card. We're going to pick some cards here, and we're going to actually go through and kind of look at these cards and see how we would read them. And again, intuition has a lot to do with this. I always recommend as a daily practice to draw a tarot card, right? Meditate on a tarot card, walk into that tarot card, really look at it, really get familiar with it, become one with it, and let your intuition speak. Again, if you know the attributions and you can see the symbols will speak because the spiritual realms speak in symbols. Again, that's something I repeat over and over again. So let's say I pull in a reading, excuse me, I pull you can see that all right? This is the 6 of Cups. So what is one of the first things I'm going to look at on this card? Okay? What is one of the first things I'll look at? Well, I'm going to look at cups. I know that it being cups, it's the element of water, which relates to the Briatic realms. Okay, the feminine realms. Okay, the next thing I will look at, so this is cups, I'm going to look at the number of the card. Okay, the number of the card here is 6. What did we talk about? 6 is attributed to Tippereth. So this is the influence of Tippereth, the solar, the consciousness on cups, the world of Bria. Think about it. So what did we talk about? This is the Yetzirah realm, the astral realm, right? And the Briatic realms. So this is the influence of the sun on consciousness on the Briatic realms, the realms of water. What did water represent? Of course, the unconscious realms. As the high priestess, which would be on this path here, represents the prima materia, the waters, the astral fluid of the universe. So this is the act of this is consciousness, solar consciousness, Tippereth, acting on the excuse me, I'm sorry, put that card back down. Working in the realms of the Briatic realms. Okay, so now we've determined this card is attributed to water, the Briatic realms, and we have attributed that the 6 is Tippereth, solar consciousness, HGA consciousness. When I think about solar consciousness, I think about, the reasoning consciousness. And then when I think about the unconscious, the moon consciousness would be the unconscious, the instincts. And so just to put it basic. So this is the first thing that I'm going to look at when I look at these cards, okay? So the first thing I'm going to look at is of course, the element, the number, which is attributed on the tree of life, and then each number. So each card also has an astrological attribution. So as you see, if you can see this, okay, all 2, 3s, and 4s relate to cardinal signs, 5, 6, and 7s to fixed signs, and 8, 9s, and 10s to mutable signs. So I know that this is fixed water. What is a fixed water sign in astrology? Scorpio. So, now if you can get one of these charts, excuse me, I just bumped the camera. I hope I didn't knock everything off. Okay, so when I look at this chart here, I go to Scorpio, okay? You can get one of these charts in Waite's book, and Cyril, there's a couple of astrological books that have these in it. I'm trying to think. Waite's book I know has it in there. Merle Seckler's book has it in there, Astrology and Psychology, which is an excellent book to read. uh, this chart's in there. So I'm hoping you can see this chart okay. But anyway, so it's number 6. So there's each one of the houses of zodiac are broken into 3 decans. Okay, so on the fixed sign, we see the 6 of Cups here, and we see pleasure. And this particular decan is ruled by the sun. Interesting enough, we got sun, right? Okay, so if you think about the sun card in the major arcana, which represents joy, freedom, liberation, pleasure. So the meaning of this card is pleasure. Okay, so these are the things that you want to look at anytime that you pull the small cards. So we talked about the aces being the initial idea. The kings are the onrush of that idea. Thesis, the queens are the stability of an idea, antithesis. And the knights are what? The synthesis of an idea. And the princesses, or in the weights deck, the pages, represent Malkuth, the physical world. Okay? So again, each suit in the small cards is a tree of life in and of itself. And so these are all the things that really help you to understand how to look at these cards. So I'm going to pull another card here. Okay, here we have the 7 of Pentacles. So what did I tell you? Okay, look at the spelling right here. Somebody's illiterate. Not really. I'm not illiterate. I'm just jotted that on the board and missed the L. That's supposed to say the pentacles or coins. Some people deem it as coins. So I've just pulled this card. So this is kind of interesting. So we know that pentacles refer to Earth, Isaiah. I'm going to look at the number 7. What did we say 7 was? Netzach Venus, the instincts, right? The instincts, the animal desires, and nature. Whoa. So now we have this whole idea of, this influence in the realm of Isaiah. Okay, so these are the realms of the personality, like we talked about before. So this is not necessarily a good thing. This is Venus in her lower aspect as nature. Okay, understand that. Each one of these planets has various aspects. We talk about that in my classes on the major arcana, right? Okay, so like we have Venus is manifested in Netzach, but we also have Venus manifested in Daleth, the Empress. So we have these 2 manifestations, so that everything in the material realm is a reflection of everything in the spiritual realms. Just remember that. The material world is the concretion of the spiritual world, of the spiritual ideas. Okay? So anytime you have the influences of these lower Sephiroth, you're going to have a problem. Okay? Because you have the idea of Venus, the nature, the desire nature, influencing you in the realm of Isaiah, in the physical realm. Okay, what did I say next? We want to look at the astrological correspondence. So this is number 7. So 5, 6, 7 are fixed signs. Again, we just now picked another fixed sign. Okay, so we have fixed Earth. Okay, fixed Earth. Which sign represents fixed Earth? See how important it is to be familiar with astrology, be familiar with the tree of life. Like I said, the study of the tarot itself will lead you into the study of all these things. If you're unfamiliar with astrology. It's a very complex science, don't get me wrong. I cannot draw up a birth chart, but I'm pretty familiar with the houses and various things. But get the Idiot's Book on Astrology. It'll give you a basic rundown on how and some things you need to understand. And so, anyway, the houses represent aspects of our lives, and the planets represent aspects of ourselves. That's oversimplification, but that's one of the easier ways to look at it. Okay. But anyway, let's go back to this card. So we have the idea of fixed Earth. Anytime you have a fixed Earth, it's kind of, it's just the stabilization of the element or season. And so what you have here is an idea of fixation. And so fixed Earth would be attributed to Taurus. Taurus is the sign of fixed Earth. Remember that the fixed signs always fall in the middle of a season. And here on this chart, so then we would go to 7. 7, it's failure. Why? Because in this decan, Saturn, a very strong binding Saturnine effect upon this particular card. Saturn is what? Attributed to what? Again, to Binah, and to this path right here that links Yesod, the astral realms, the foundation, to Malkuth. Now you see how important all this is to get these attributions down. So now you also have this, you have Venus, okay, which the Venus in her aspect of nature, the instincts, and then you have also the Saturn, the binding influence of Saturn upon the heavy binding influence of Saturn upon this element of Pentacles. And so working together, they portend failure. Okay, you following me? And I mean, it's not as easy as I'm making it to sound, but once you begin to understand these symbols, once you begin to put these things together, it'll be a lot easier than you think. I mean, really, once you meditate on these symbols and they begin to speak to you, I mean, these cards will open up to you. And so, it's a long science. I've been doing it for a long time. And again, it'll lead you from one thing to another. You'll study astrology. You'll study the tree of life. You'll study just studying the tarot cards, which is pretty cool. It's like a gateway drug to the world of the Hermetic sciences. All right, I'm going to draw another card. And again, I can't give you the meanings for all these cards. I'd be here all night. I can barely get the talks on the Major Arcana done. I mean, like I said, I'm an old man in my later years, and so it's pretty hard sometimes for me to get these classes done. And again, bear with me if my video quality is not that great. If there's something you can't see very well, I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can. I don't have the technology or the technological know-how to make these videos really any better, and really don't have anybody around right now that can help me with this. So anyway, so my next card here, I pulled the 9 of Wands. Okay, we'll start by looking at Wands, the world of absolute, the world of fire, the primal fire, the motivating force of the universe, okay, the fire that burns within all of creation. And so we know that this is the world of absolute. Now I'm going to look at, and what's cool about Crowley's cards is the things that I was talking to you about earlier, about Saturn and about the various planetary rulers. The great thing about Crowley's deck, even though it is complex, I do recommend it. You will see that he does have, I hope you can see this card okay, I'm trying to get it right in front of the camera. You'll see that he has all the planetary symbols on the card. He actually says failure here, and he has the symbol for Saturn here. So hopefully you can see that okay. But again, it's not enough just to see the word failure. It's you've got to kind of understand why it's failure, and look at all these various things influencing that small card. Okay? Okay, let's look at this one. All right, I pulled the Nine of Wands. We talked about that being fire, the world of absolute, the world of the initial ideas, the world of the archetypes. Okay? And then we're going to look at the number. So we know that 8, 9s, and 10s are mutable. They fall at the end of a season. That means they're changeable. So this is going to be, anytime you have a lot of mutable cards, it's going to be a changeable reading. And so another thing I want to say about daily readings, kind of bouncing off again, is the fact that a lot of people like to do a whole spread every day. That is going to be nothing but a big bunch of mass confusion for you. Most spreads cover different periods of time. Pick one card daily. Really get familiar with it. You know, and say like this. To bathe in the waters of life, to wash off the not human. I come in self-annihilation and the grandeur of inspiration. You know, Archangel who rule, grant unto me inspiration. Grant unto me the tarot atu for the day, and then draw one card, and that card will be the message for that day. Really familiarize yourself with all the symbols, meditate on it throughout the day, and then do that each day. Don't do a full reading. It's going to add to mass confusion. Okay? Okay, because full readings have so many influences within them that are not going to be just for one day. It's very hard to do that, but you can, but it's up to you. Anyway, so we said it's a mutable sign. So what is mutable fire? Mutable fire falls at the end of a sign. Okay? So in each element you've got three, right? So like cardinal fire would be what? Aries. Fixed fire would be Leo, and mutable fire would be Sagittarius. Aries falls at the beginning of spring. Leo falls in the middle of summer. And Sagittarius falls at the end of fall. Okay? Okay, so that's how you're kind of looking at that. And so I look up here, I find 9 of Wands, strength. And so that deacon is ruled by the moon. So this is the moon's influence on this card. Okay? So that is good. Okay, because I didn't go back. Okay, so this is the 9 of Wands. So we have the world of Absolute, okay, here. Wands, fire. We have 9s, which is the moon, which is ruled by the moon, which reinforces this card, okay? Uh, we have, Sagittarius. And again, we have the symbol for Sagittarius here. Crowley has put the sun here, showing the sun and moon united to bring strength to this card and strength to the aspirant. Okay? Kind of understand where I'm going with that? So that's that's kind of how you're going to look at these cards. Uh, each card that you draw, you're going to kind of look at each one of these things, meditate on those things, and let your unconscious kind of reveal unto you the meaning of the card. So, see, like Sagittarius has the influence of Jupiter. So this card has the influence of Jupiter. That's something else I haven't pointed out. Each astrological sign has a planetary ruler. So it's going to have the influence of Jupiter. It's going to have the influence of being a mutable sign, Sagittarius sign of aspiration. And so all these things come into play in any one of these cards. And really, all I can do is just cover some of the basics tonight, or this evening. It's evening here anyway. We're going to draw another card we'll discuss real quick. If you were here, you could ask questions, and I'll put that card out of the way. And we'll put this card up there. Okay. So here we have the Five of Cups. Cups, again, being Briatic, okay? So that's the realm of water, the realm of the unconscious. I always like to remember fire is the activating force of the universe that activates the waters of the universe, the Akashic fluid, the prima materia. There's so many words for the electromagnetic fluid that fills the universe and creates all things. Uh, the fire is the motive power behind it. It activates the water, just to put it simply. Uh, then, of course, you have the air, the winds of spirit, and then the solidification in the coins. So here we see that this card, first what we're going to do is we looked at it, we know that it's the realm of water. Next we see it's 5, 6, or 7. So it's 5, so it's fixed. So it's fixed water. Fixed water. Okay, and we already talked about that earlier. I don't know, I picked another one of those. That's going to be Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio is a sign of the generative powers of a person, and it's got a couple rulers. One is Scorpio is ruled by Mars and also by Neptune in the newer systems. It's the imaginative intelligence again. So you have the generative principle influencing this card. But in the Five of Cups here, which would be the first decan here of the house of Scorpio, is ruled by Mars. Okay, so Mars influence on water on the Briatic realms. So you have this influence of Mars on the Briatic realms, which is a very unstabilizing force. It's very, very unstable. It's not a very stabilizing force for this for your cups. Uh, and again, but Scorpio being ruled by Mars, uh, and Scorpio being part of the generative processes, and Scorpio having three aspects to it. Of course, we've talked about that scorpion, the serpent, and the eagle. So Crowley calls this card disappointment because of the influence of Mars upon the unconscious. Think about the waters being the unconscious and this fiery, warlike, martial energy. Then you can understand it better, okay? Because in Gabura, Mars here, the Sephira of Gabura, is called terror. That is the wrath of God, right? So think about it that way, and why this card would be called disappointment. I would like to talk. I didn't do that, but I didn't. We're going to talk about cardinal too while I'm here. I seem just to be fixing it to fix. Maybe I'm Aquarius, which is a fixed sign of air. So hopefully, you're kind of understanding how you're going to put these various attributions, these various things together, right? To understand the card, because, like I said, that's what you're doing. It's like a puzzle. You're meditating on this influence and then that influence and you're putting it all together to fully understand the card. Okay. Let me. The next card I picked right now is the Two of Swords. Swords can represent troubles, they represent the Ruick, but they're not all bad. Interestingly enough, like a lot of people say the Death card in the Major Arcana represents death, but it's actually the Ten of Swords that represents death. But anyway, in a reading. So, just bear with me. Like I said, I'm doing the best I can to relay this information to you. Hopefully I'm making it understandable, but it's up to you now to pursue this knowledge, to learn these attributions, and that way you can have a better understanding of the tarot. Anyway, I have just drawn the Two of Swords. So twos normally represent, of course, a unifying factor. They're attributed to Hakma on the Tree of Life. Hakma is the Yod and the Yod He Vav He. So you have that fire. So you have the activity of fire upon the realm of the Ruick but it's a different fire than the Gabura Mars fire, okay? So you have the influence of this fire, this Yod force, Hakma, upon the realm of Ruach, uh, of the reasoning faculty, let's say. Okay? It's a 2, so it's cardinal. What would be a cardinal air sign? As we know that these swords are attributed to air. Cardinal air. So we know that the cardinal signs start a season. Okay? So spring is started by cardinal fire. Okay? Summer by cardinal water. And then we go to fall, which is what? Cardinal air. Libra. We have just we are just passing through Libra and going now into Sagittarius. But so we have 2. So we go the second deacon, or the first deacon, so it'll be 2, 3, 4. The first deacon of swords is peace, the influence of the moon on. Okay, so Venus is the planetary ruler of Libra. You have the influence of the moon, of Yesod, of the unconscious on this card. So this shows unity, an end to conflict, because Venus and the moon, the love of Venus, and the foundation. So you have that unity of these 2 forces in this card. And here again in Crawley's card, you see the moon, and you see the unity and the birth of this lotus representing Venus. So again, you have an air sign, which is the Ruach, thought, spirit. You have the influence of Hakma. Anytime you have the influence of the higher, of the world of absolutes, it's always a better influence than if you have one of the lower influences on your card, okay? So just keep that in mind. So the influence of Hakma, the Yod force, fertilizing this element of air, okay? The thoughts influencing the reasoning faculty, the thought, the spiritual aspect of your being. And then you have this whole idea, like we talked about here, of the moon, the high priestess here, who links Kether, Tippereth. Okay, so we have that whole influence, her influence upon that, and then we have the influence of Venus, of Daleth, of love. Because I'm looking up here, because I'm dealing with the 2s. Okay, I'm not dealing with the lower aspects of these elements. I'm dealing with these elements as they are manifested in these spiritual realms, the initial idea of an element, so to speak. So this is kind of how you're going to start looking at all your small cards that you draw in a reading. Remember that aces are the initial onset of an idea, but the idea is unmanifested. So normally if you pull an ace, you'll pull another card with it, and that will help you to clarify what is being initiated, okay? Again, you can find this chart, and hopefully you can read it okay, in Waite's book and Meryl Seckler's book on astrology, tarot, astrology, and psychology. Maybe able to find it online. I don't know exactly where, but you can kind of search around. It has all the houses. It has all deacons with all the various planets. See, each deacon has so each house is ruled by, so each house, like Aries, is ruled by a planetary ruler, but also each deacon. And it starts here with Aries, and it goes right over. It goes from Venus, and it goes, Mars, okay? Mars to Venus, to Mercury, to the moon, and excuse me, to the moon to Saturn. Okay, so it's going to go to Saturn. Okay, and it just keeps repeating over and over and over around this wheel. So that will help you a lot. And how each one of these planets influences the card. And really, that's the best I can do to explain the small cards tonight and how to look at the small cards. And like I said, I can't go through all the meanings. Hopefully, this helped you to have some kind of basic understanding on how to look at them and give you a pathway to begin your journey through the tarot. I will be continuing the talks on the major arcana in the next week or two. I think the next card and the next path is the Hermit, which is a pretty interesting card in and of itself. And I will be finishing these discussions with my discussion on the major arcana, and I think that'll be pretty much all I do. Anyway, again, my name is Qesheth, and 93, everybody.